This is Joe Ferraro, and you're watching The Game Plan.
Hey everybody, this is Giancarlo Aulino reporting for The Game Plan, and I am happy to be joined by my guest today who's going to be breaking down all things soccer in and around the GTA. He is a past guest when we were on Vibe 105. He's making his debut here on The Game Plan. He is Joe Ferraro. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great. And Joe, York region, Toronto. It's been buzzing the past few months, especially York United there at the York University campus. This team, the season didn't start off too well. Benjamin Mora gets hired, turns it around. They were at first place at one point, make the playoffs, have a record-setting year. What were your thoughts just being in and around this club and seeing this turnaround?
Yeah, I've been with the club since day one, since their very first game. So I've seen all the different changes, all the positive stuff up and down. When Benjamin came in, I knew a bit about him, obviously with his coaching background. Did a bit more research, and I'm like, oh, this will be interesting. I want to see what he brings to the team. And the intensity level that he brought was unbelievable. That's not to say Martin Nash wasn't, didn't have the intensity. Just two different types of coaching styles, a completely different formation, a completely different type of play. A lot of activations. When I say activations, for those that don't know, I'm the MC for all the home games. Right, so I'm the stadium announcer, and this year they situated me not in the broadcast booth, but right at center field. Right, so right where the fourth official is, we're behind the fourth official, like right at field level. So I got to see everything like in real time, right in front of my face, that how fast it is. And as a coach, just watching the activations of certain plays, what happens when a ball goes down the left wing, down the right wing, if we're going up the middle, and just the different style that the team brought to the table that Benjamin put together was unbelievable. It was action-packed and defensive at times when you had to be. You're playing forwards as an example to try and contain them. And then when you're playing other teams, how quickly he was able to expose even the smallest of weaknesses and take advantage of it. So he did a masterful job, a fantastic job. I don't know the whole story as to why he left. I can see why he may have wanted to leave, but this guy's a fantastic coach. He's unbelievable. So it was really good to be able to also hear him. Because again, Giancarlo and viewers and listeners, the two benches are no more than 15 feet away from me. Yeah. Right. So we would hear whether it was York United FC's coaches or the opposing coaches all within earshot. And no matter how loud the crowd was, we could hear them and we could see them with their body, because you can't see them because they're covered the way you are, the way they're situated if you're in the stands. But we could see everything, and it was always intense. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, just even seeing from the press box, Benjamin Mora, sometimes you don't want to be a little carried away on the field, but he was always passionate, and sometimes it rubbed the other coach the wrong way. Like, what was your thoughts here of just standing in the middle of watching the two coaches sometimes go back and forth?
Yeah, there was a lot of games where it wasn't just the coaches, it was the players, and you can sense when it was getting, when the water started boiling, right? It's about to get really hot in here. Referees, you may want to control this, and if the referees weren't able to control it, things could get pretty rough and tumble out there. But it wasn't just Benjamin Mora. It was different coaches on both sides. So it wasn't always the two head coaches. There's an old adage in soccer, and it happens with my team all the time. My assistant coach will gladly get a yellow or red card on my behalf, right? So sometimes the assistant coach will do certain things on either bench to really rile up the other team or the referees or the fourth official or the referee's assistants to get their point across. Right? I saw a lot of that. I see it a lot in the European games, whether it's in Spain, Italy, France, Germany. The assistant coaches, they're not just there to assistant coach. They're there to take one for the head coach sometimes, right? So, sometimes, you're between that, and it's like, the guy that I'm sitting with, some of the parties that I'm with, they're like, oh, hey, remember, you're the UFC guy. If you have to step in, I'm like, I'm not stepping in. That's not my place. I'm doing a different job here, right? So a lot of the players would say to me, you're always so calm when things are so heated. Guys, I've called 1,000 fights. I've been to 10,000. The amount of fights that I've seen, there's nothing in soccer that's gonna surprise me when I was been around like world class fighters fighting for titles. So I'm calm for a reason. So
And it was a record-setting year. Like there were times when you would even announce it like this is an attendance of well over 2,000 fans, and York. It is an exciting product, but the big knock as times has been that they've maybe failed to connect with the community a little bit more and have more fans go in. And we saw this shift this year. So when you were just seeing the turnout at some of these games, is this like York on the right path now to finally
100%.
getting that connection?
Yeah, 100%. With the new ownership, the Pascal brothers, these guys are worth their weight in gold. You can Google and read whatever you want about them. I mean, these guys, there was never a day that I didn't show up and they would stop whoever they were speaking with to come and say hello to me, right? And their vision is a pretty important one. If you start adding a few things together, they knew what they were getting into. The challenges of playing at York University. The old adage of when it was first York 9, then it became York United FC. Playing at York University, the mentality, and you're competing for a incredible entertainment dollar in the GTA. You're competing as a professional team. You're not just competing with Toronto FC. You are competing with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Toronto Raptors, the Toronto Rock, the Toronto Argonauts. You're competing for that sports entertainment dollar. So they understood that, hey, we're at York University. The mentality is people think that, oh, this is not a professional soccer team. It's actually the York University men's team when it never has been. So that's a stigma that's remained with the team, and they're trying to break that slowly but surely. I mean, Giancarlo, let's be honest. The only way to do that is to find another venue. Right. Yeah. But where are you going to play? Where are you going to have a stadium? You're going to have to build one, in my opinion. Right. So I don't know what their future plan is. I mean, but if I was in that room, I'd be like, is there a way we could potentially get to differentiate ourselves from York University as we are called York United? Can we get a facility that is our own, or a multi-use facility that we can call our own? Right. You can call it the Giancarlo Stadium. Right. You can call it the Game Plan Stadium. You can call it the Ferraro Stadium, but it's not called York Lions Stadium. That still associates people, a professional team, with the university campus. Right. So, and again, York United or York Lions Stadium, the staff, the venue, amazing people, amazing. I'm just thinking at it from a branding perspective. Is that something to consider? I'm not in those meetings. I don't know. Maybe they do want to stay at York Lions Stadium because it's their home now. I don't know. But that's one way. That's something that the owners knew that they were getting into. And how do we put butts in the seats? Right. And they did a great job. Like the whole, Mexican Independence Day when Jorge Campos was there. That was insane. That was absolutely insane. I did my part with Stouffville Soccer, filling up the stadium. A lot of the, some of the other York region soccer teams would step up. Right. It's challenging in Canada with soccer still, believe it or not, which is kind of crazy. But still, like, I wish these teams these associations would realize this is another professional team, right? Yeah, we got Toronto FC. Everyone knows Toronto FC. They had a 10-year head start, but this is another avenue for players to potentially go to, and one that you can support. The support for soccer here in the GTA, almost in general in Canada, is not what it's like overseas. Like I was just recently in Milan working with Inter. The support that I went to go watch the U20 game. I mean, that was insane. That was just a U20 game. Right. Let alone, I mean, yeah, they're next in line to get to the actual men's team, but it's totally different over there. We know that, as it is over here. How do we change the culture here? It's a culture shift over here for soccer.
And just even on that, like we see fans like rally around the Italian national team, even like Market Lane, always packed when Italy plays. So is there maybe something that York United could do in the community that would maybe turn something around there?
It's not for a lack of trying. They have their pub nights. They have all kinds of stuff. They're working with the fans, the ultras that are here, the hardcore fans. They're working with them to try and build different things. I mean, you can come up with 1,000 different scenarios and suggestions. It's something just has to click, right? It's just got one thing you got to catch, lightning in a bottle, and then it'll take off. But there's a variety of different things that hold them back, and it's not their fault. Again, you're competing for that sports entertainment dollar in a city it's in a country that is beloved by the hockey. They just love hockey, right? It is a summer sport, right? So there's a whole bunch of different things that they're going to try and do, that they continue, to try and do. It just has to catch on. Eventually has to catch on. And winning winning is the most important thing. Because if you have a winning product, so the old adage in the boxing and the UFC world and the MMA world as a promoter, sellouts breed sellouts. When the building is not sold out, the perception is, oh, it's not a quality product. Meanwhile, even if there's only 500 people in the stands, you watch that soccer, it's pretty damn good. Right? It's just like everyone's just driving by and it's like, this is a gold mine. This is fantastic stuff that's on the field, right? Is it Serie A? Is it La Liga? Is it Bundesliga? No, but that's where the players start, right? So it's just got to catch on, lightning in a bottle. When it does, hopefully those stands will be sold out all the time. Because I love when it's loud. Actually, here's the irony, Giancarlo, and listeners, sorry, and viewers. The irony of sometimes I've had a full crowd in that stadium and I'm losing my marbles and I'm cheering, I'm calling this and I'm calling the substitutions and the goal scored and it's just silent. It's just silent. You get 500 people and they're louder. They go nuts, right? So, the playoff game that we had, I was instructed to, keep the crowd pumped up, keep the crowd amped because unfortunately we live in a country, or sorry, I should say country. That's incorrect. We live in a market where people are almost afraid to cheer. They're afraid security is going to kick them out, right? Wow. Go to Europe.
Yeah.
Go to Europe, right? 30,000 people singing. When I was at the Inter Juventus game last month, I think it was 86,000 people at the San Siro Stadium. By the 20th minute, I was kicking myself for not taking 2 Advil before I went to the stadium because it was just deafening. You don't get that in Canada. You don't get that at Jays games or in the Raptors games, maybe. Leafs playoff games, maybe, but it's pocketed. Man, at a soccer game overseas, it is from the opening whistle to the very end.
Yeah, and it's a great atmosphere too. So hopefully, like with time, like you mentioned there, it could get to that point, lightning in a bottle type of thing. But just on York United, they did make a new hire, a promotion with Mauro Eustaquio now becoming the head coach. He's a young coach now stepping into this role, like only a few years older than me. Like, is this something where York United could be revolutionary in terms of like the head coaching role, and we might even see younger coaches in the future come up?
That's a very good question. Difficult to answer because he's so smart. He's so skilled. He's a fantastic coach. Super intense, knows how to deal with the fourth official, a master at playing mind games, a master of planting seeds in his players, referees, assistants, fourth officials' mind. He's just and tactically the guy is unbelievable. Right, there's a reason why he was called up to the men's national team to be an assistant coach. Eustaquio is something special. I don't think York United fans even realize how lucky we are to have him. Now, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see how the season goes, right? But having learned under Martin Nash, having learned under Benjamin Mora, I don't know how much time he had, if he had any time with Jimmy Brennan at all, but he's also surrounded with really good assistant coaches. He's a fantastic coach. I'm really excited to see what he's going to bring to the table. Game time, telling you guys, my conversations with him are slightly more than, hey, coach, what's going on? Or hey, Mauro, what's going on? Hey, Joe, how's it going? Everything good? Yeah, okay, bye. Like, it's just, he's too intense. He's too intense. And I know that feeling when I coach U15 boys. And game day, game hour, I don't want to talk to anybody. I have no business talking to anybody. This guy's doing it at a professional level, right? Young or not, this guy knows his stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds next year.
Definitely with you there. And just want to transition to Stouffville Soccer, like you mentioned there. You're coaching and you're the club head coach there for the Stouffville Soccer Club. Just, I'm curious at this level, like when you're working with players who want to aspire to maybe get to that next level and be a pro, or they're just really talented and they want an outlet to play at a competitive level. What are you noticing now at this age group that maybe in the past when there was no TFC and this no like professional pathway for these players, that are they more advanced than what they were maybe a few years ago?
I think the level is more advanced. I think it still has a lot to A lot to grow from, a lot to grow on. Specifically in Stouffville, where when I took over the club in May of this year, I set a mandate to the board of directors as to what my vision is, what it takes. We're partnered with Inter Academy Toronto. I was just in Milan, as I mentioned earlier. I went over to work with the technical directors and the technical staff in Milan, right? So I got to see it with my own eyes, what the development is. My son came with me. He's a 2010, right? He plays U15. So we were able to see the U15 and 2010 practices over there. We saw the 16s, U17s, U18s, U16, U17, U18s, all the way up to the U20s. And we got to see what the coaches do and what the players do at the level of being hand selected and groomed to one day play for the men's team, right? The grassroots area, so obviously we'll say U14 and under over there, it's all about technical. It's all the technical. It's the ball mastery. It's the ability. It's the basics. Sometimes I'll see things here when I go to different associations, or I'll see some of the clubs at my own association, and I'm like, you don't have to teach what Neymar does or what Ronaldo is doing in the corner with his step overs and blah, blah, blah. No. Basics. 90% of your problems are passing and receiving in soccer. 90% of your problem, maybe 95% of soccer problems for teams and players is passing and receiving. You fix your passing and receiving, everything else falls into place. You can teach dribbling, you can teach driving the ball, you can then teach tactics. I mean, I see U9 or U10 coaches working on their formations, and it's like, you don't have to worry about your formation. Yeah, you can play, if you're playing a 7v7 or a 5v5 or a 9v9, of course you want to be able to set it up in a manner where, you're not going to lose the game, you want to win the game. But you can have, if you put 9 players in a 9v9 or 7 players in a 7v7 that cannot pass or receive a ball, doesn't matter your formation. I'm coaching 11v11. It's irrelevant what my formation is, 4-5-1, 4-3-3, 4-4-2, 4-2-3-2, or 4-2-3-1. It doesn't matter. If the players can't stop the ball, they can't make a straight pass, their first touch is, the ball comes to them and their first touch goes from Ajax to Scarborough. Like, guys, there's nothing you can do on the field, right? You first got to get yourself ready technically, then you can get ready tactically. So that's one of the things that I've been working on for about 2 years now, and really, really saw that overseas. I mean, I got goosebumps just thinking about what I'm about to say. I cannot express enough what I saw overseas at the U20 game that we attended before the Inter Juventus game at night. These U20s, so they're 19 and under, okay? The skill level that I saw in this game from Inter and Empoli, it was Empoli who they played against, I've never seen in Canada. Never. I mean, these U20s can jump into the CPL in a heartbeat. Okay? The level there, the technical ability, the laser precision with their passes, the perfect weight, the 1-2s, the third man option, the third man runs, the through balls, the layoffs, the cutbacks. It was just like, I thought I was watching FIFA. Like, it was incredible. So how do I take all that information and coaching information and bring it back to Stouffville? That's been my goal since I got back in late October. But it's a challenge. You're dealing with the Canadian mindset. You're dealing with, coaches I'm not saying in Stouffville, but in general, I can pick out a YouTube coach in a heartbeat by going to a session. Doesn't matter what association I go to. I can look at a coach and I'm like, he's missing at least 6 to 7 things in their session plan, and technical advice giving to the players. This is a YouTube video that they just saw last night and says, this will be my practice. And it's missing so many coaching components that you just don't get unless you've been taught it, right? So yeah, taking Stouffville soccer to the next level is my goal, because I know the reputation it's always had. It's going to be a 3 to 5 year plan, but that's my goal.
That's great. And just for yourself as a coach, like, were there other coaches that you looked at and modeled maybe what you're trying to instill in some of these players? And has those methods already had improvement on your teams?
So I sat there, I won't give last names. I met Marco Monti. I had a long meeting with Marco Monti. He's head of technical development or technical directors for Inter. He works with Javier Zanetti, who works with Simone Inzaghi. Simone Inzaghi, head coach of Inter. I mean, if you go on most of the websites that do data, Inter is the best team in the world today, as of today. Okay, ahead of Liverpool, ahead of Man City, just from a data metrics perspective. And then you try and study Simone Inzaghi and what he wants to do with his men's team, the first team, that he now wants to do with the U20s, U19s, U18s, that Marco Monti or Zanetti and Marco Monti now have to disperse to all the different coaches globally at all the academies. I met with, Coach Benjamin, Coach Gigi. These are technical minds, Giancarlo, that I just can't, and they grilled me. They were testing me. What would you do in this scenario? What would you do here? What would you do with this player, that player, blah, blah. And it was 3 days of just absolute soccer. I wouldn't say I was inundated with information because I loved it all. I took as many notes. I got a notebook to my left here that with just all kinds of notes that I took. And the conversation was, how do you take that back to Canada? How do you take it back to Toronto? How do you help out, with the Inter Academy in Mississauga or Inter Academy Toronto? Can you do it in Stouffville? Can you do it somewhere else? Can you help us in wherever, right? Globally. And looking at what they do and then coming home and, literally having to deal with a volunteer coach or a coach that just got his Canada Soccer, learn to train or Soccer for Life certification, maybe a C license, and trying to have a conversation about coaching with them and listening to them. And I'm like, no. If you do that, you're never going to develop players here. There's a specific way. If people want to argue with me or with any, it doesn't have to be Inter. It could be Juventus. It could be Manchester City, Liverpool, Barcelona. If you're going to argue with someone that's been there and works with them because you think you have an idea, you're going to lose my interest right away. You really, really are, right? I went in there with enough knowledge to be able to really show them what I'm worth, and I left there 10 times smarter, right? Now I got to go back again and show them that I'm 10 times smarter when I left, right? It's never ending. Like the coaching pedigree, the coaching fraternity over there is completely different than you would find almost anywhere in most clubs, not all clubs, but most clubs in the GTA as an example. Like the best way to explain it, I don't know any other way than explaining it's almost like a religion, right? Like if Inzaghi is, we'll call him the Pope, right? Well, the Pope has what? Cardinals, right? Or is it cardinals? Then there's archbishops, and it just filters down to the priests. Right? Like, sorry to get religious. I didn't mean to get religious. I'm trying to give an analogy.
No worries.
So there's that big, it all goes up to the top. Well, what the head guy wants, everyone else has to follow. And if you don't, and they treat the coaches like you're part of a fraternity. And if you don't want to be here, no problem. We'll get somebody else that will be here. And they don't treat it like, from the smallest things, like you have to look like a coach when you go to coach. Wear your coach's shirt. Wear your shorts, wear your boots, your cleats, right? Look like a coach. You don't show up there with your glasses or your hat on backwards or you just came out of you're an accountant and you show up with your suit. No, I'm a mortgage agent by trade. I don't wear my suit. I show up as a soccer coach. And it's the small things like that. Have the field ready, right? Like there's a standard that they have over there that I'm bringing to Stouffville that you don't see at many other clubs that, it's going to take time to change, but to take that level of understanding and now cascade it to who I'm working. I got 22 coaches, 22 assistant coaches, 22 managers. There's 66 people right now that report to me at Stouffville, plus the recreational program. Even that's super important. What are we doing with to recreate the kids that are 4 or 5? Because they're the ones that benefit way more than my U15s, right? You get a 4 or 5-year-old and you start teaching them, boy or girl, correct soccer, correct ball placement, using the right side of the foot, correct part of the foot, how to kick properly, and it starts cascading upwards, right? And you'll see the talent level in this country go through the roof.
I agree. And even just the recreational program, like if there's some strategies that you would recommend to other coaches that may be watching this and want to take a look at how they're coaching, like what advice would you give to some of those, house league coaches that are maybe coaching for the first time?
Yeah, I with Stouffville, I have a 15 or an 18-week plan that all the coaches, all the game leaders are fully aware of. And if we're on week 7, everybody's doing week 7, okay? At the recreational level, you're not competing for the World Cup. Yeah. You're there to have fun, but parents are paying for their kids to learn soccer. So you've got to take that balance. They have to learn how to play soccer. They have to have fun. And the funnest thing is the game. The game is the funnest thing for a child, for any players in general. You know, if you and I are hanging out with some guys, whatever, blah, blah, we start kicking a ball around, well, it's going to get competitive. Why? Because we're in a game, but we're going to have fun. So for the kids from 4 years old or even younger all the way up, there's a development plan that we have or that I've built over at Stouffville that works with each age group and each session to say, today our objective is passing. Next week, our objective is receiving. If it didn't go well, well, then next week we'll do receiving again. Now, this is at the competitive level. At the recreational level, today is passing. Next week is receiving. Next week is driving the ball. The following week is dribbling. The next week is agility. Then we go to shooting. Then we go back to passing. And we just keep working everything, right? And what we worked on today, we're going to implement it in the game. Too many parents in Canada have that hockey mentality where my kid's the next Messi or Neymar or Ronaldo or Mbappe or Haaland. No, they're not. Just time out. You'll know if they are. Okay? Look at your kid from a third-party perspective. Why don't you ask a parent what they think of your kid? Do that. Forget your thoughts of your kid. Ask other parents what they think of your kid. They probably won't be honest with you.
Yeah. I agree.
Period.
I've seen that when I was reffing soccer too. Like, I agree with what you're saying there. It's unfortunately like that mentality. Hopefully, it's something that gets corrected. But just a couple final questions here. I want to get your thoughts on. Just transition a little bit into the world of MMA, which you're well versed in. When you were with Ryzen as their English commentator, you got to see Kai Asakura, who was an exciting name over there. He's making his debut in the UFC after vacating his bantamweight title in Japan last New Year's Eve, and he's getting a title shot right away, flyweight championship opportunity. For the fans that aren't really too familiar with what they're going to experience and just the level of star he is, how would you best describe Kai Asakura?
Well, I mean, the Asakura brothers, Kai and Mikuru, they're rock stars in Japan. Think, Conor McGregor, right? Like he's a global phenomenon, but he's a rock star. He's transcended the sport. In Japan, the Asakura brothers are some people that have, and Kai's transcended the sport. Okay, he's bigger. He's got a following, a massive YouTube following. Him and his brother can't go anywhere. I once described them as the Japanese Diaz brothers, right? Street fighters. They were street fighters that competed in the Outsiders or the Outlaws or whatever it was called. I forgot what it was called. And then they started learning how to fight. They took that savage skill set of being street fighters and learned how to fight professionally with technique, with stamina, with patience, with timing, and ascended up the Japanese rankings very, very quickly. And the speed that especially Kai has. Kai is a super fast puncher, explosive. I don't know if he's in over his head with this title shot and the overwhelming fact that, you're now competing for the UFC. I learned a very long time ago, I've been in the UFC, involved with the UFC since day one in 93, do the math. Okay. There's a lot more to this game than physical. A lot of it is mental. And it took me a long time to really understand how impactful the mental game is for a fighter or an athlete, as opposed to the physical. And you just don't know what they're going into the cage with or the ring with in terms of injuries. You don't know what their personal life is like. You don't know what happened at home. You don't know what happened at the hotel this morning. You don't know if they got bad news before the fight, because there's always a donkey. There's always an idiot that thinks that they can just call a fighter and say, oh, this happened or that happened, not realizing that this person is going to war. Their life is on the line. Legit, life is on the line here. Okay? And it could be anything. I don't want to get too in deep into that, but I've heard stories of, and I've seen it with my own eyes, where I'm like, how can you do that? The reason why George St. Pierre would block off society after the weigh-ins. Yeah. No phones to anybody. No, don't talk to him unless it's fighting. And he would only have a select few people around him, because he trusted them not to give him any bad news or any news in general that wasn't fight related, right? And some of these guys are they'll night of the fight, they can't sleep, they're out, they're doing this or they're playing, just right. So for Kai Asakura, who knows what he's going into this fight with. I wish him obviously the best of luck, right? There's obviously a personal situation there. I called so many of his fights. I'd love to see him win, but it's a big step for him, and we'll see how he performs.
I agree. There should be exciting to see this Saturday night. And Joe, just before we wrap up, want to do some quick rapid fire with you. Now that we're in the holiday season, what's your favorite holiday meal?
Well, my mother-in-law does 12 courses of fish on Christmas Eve. It's legendary. She makes the homemade, on the Sunday, we actually go back there again. So on the Sunday, we have the tagliatelle, the homemade pasta asciutta, right? She makes the pasta from scratch. My father-in-law we're like kids in a candy store. But if I had to pick one food as crazy, it's not even Italian. The calamari on Christmas Eve. Just it's over, right? The calamari, the fish is just unbelievable, but the pasta's a close second.
Favorite dessert on the holidays?
My mother-in-law's tiramisu, hands down tiramisu. And when she doesn't make it, she gets an earful, and then I get told where to go. But her tiramisu is just top notch, man.
Do you consider yourself a pizza person?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, this is a very controversial one. Pineapple on pizza?
You want to know why I'm going to say yes? More pizza for me.
Oh, okay. That's a good answer.
Everybody, when the Inter coaches were here and we showed them that there's Hawaiian pizza that has pineapple on it, you should have seen the disgust and look in their face. And they looked at me and they're like, "You're Italian. You're having pineapple on your pizza?" I said, "You see that whole pizza right there? That's all mine. No one's going to touch it. I get all the pizza. And if I want to have some of your slices, I can have it because we're sharing, but no one's going to touch this pizza," right? I actually don't mind the contradictory flavors of having pineapple on pizza with ham. I know it sounds crazy, and I know I'm not handing in my Italian passport. I like it. I enjoy it.
Favorite soccer player growing up?
Are you joking right now? Favorite soccer player growing up? You got it. I'm gonna get destroyed for this. So obviously Messi is my favorite, but growing up, I might have to say Diego Maradona, right?
Solid choice.
Both are Argentinian and I'm Italian. Go figure.
So that goes to my next one: Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi. I mean, the second Messi kissed to the World Cup, it was over for me, and I don't debate the Ronaldo thing anymore. If somebody believes Ronaldo's better than Messi, absolutely. I'm sure you've got a million reasons. It's not an argument that I'm going to get into. It's not a debate. That debate ended for me.
Favorite Italian soccer player?
Oh, come on, man. Come on. I can't answer that question. I'm going to say in net, Buffon, defender, obviously a toss-up between guys like Maldini and Cannavaro. I can mention 7 more. In the midfield, Andrea Pirlo. Forward, oh my God, Del Piero. Like Baggio. You just can't win, right?
That's a good one. Debatable too at times because that's why everyone has their own GOAT list and Buffon. A lot of people have Maldini in defense, but once you get to the other position, that's where it gets interesting. Inter or Juve?
Listen, everyone thinks I should answer this right away. I'm born and bred a Juventus fan my whole life, but I wear the Inter coaching shirt because how they develop players and how they treated me. I have to respect the black and blue. I love the black and white. The majority of my clothes are Juventus. Wearing an Inter shirt, I had so many messages that that logo must be burning your heart. You're a traitor, and I'm like, I'm doing it for the kids. I'm doing it for my career. It's not a personal thing to me. What is personal, but it's business as well. So at the Inter game, the 4-4 game, which has already been considered the Serie A game of the year, I had to sit on my hands. Every time Juve scored, I didn't celebrate. Every time Inter scored, I didn't celebrate. I just wanted to enjoy the game, right? It's tough. It's very tough to say now. If you'd have asked me this 3 years ago, I would have said Juventus. But having experienced what I've experienced and my experience in Milan with the Inter technical staff and how they treated me and their system, it's tough, man. It's tough, right? I love both.
From your time when you were conducting interviews with athletes, what's maybe 1 or 2 that jumped to your mind of being the most memorable?
Anything Nick Diaz. George St. Pierre always gave me the time of day. I don't think that's a secret for anybody. Forrest Griffin was an absolute hilarious disaster every time. That guy has the best sense of humor ever. Um, Brock Lesnar was fun. Vanderlei Silva treating me like gold. I mean, I can go on and on and on. But anything Nick Diaz, because Nick Diaz is so much of an enigma and secret to everybody that I got to hear and have, even off camera, hour-long conversations with him about life, just in general. Very smart guy. Obviously operates at a different frequency. You can see that the way he, when he gets into fight mode. But just I had a great time. And George just, anywhere, pick a country in the world, I've been there with George and just treated me like gold. So yeah.
Fight that got you interested in MMA?
Hoist Gracie, Ken Shamrock. UFC, was it UFC 1? I think it was UFC 1. That was the one when I realized all the boxing and kickboxing that I'd done before that needs to be supplemented. I knew about being more of a well-rounded fighter after watching the Gracies before MMA evolved. I knew right away I have to learn this Brazilian thing. What is this stick? What is he wearing? This white jacket. What is this? I had to learn it, right? And then Marco Huas came around and he solidified it for me. Marco Huas back in the day solidified everything for me. And then we saw the evolution with, Coleman and Maurice Smith and stuff like that. So
great answer there. Legends, that's a throwback. Ken Shamrock, past guest here, legend.
Yep.
Two more. In your career, when you were conducting interviews, was there one that you wish you could have interviewed but never had the chance?
Conor McGregor. My UFC career ended right as Conor's ascension began, right at that exact crossroads. So he started, and my career, broadcasting career on Canadian television ended at that time, right? So that's one guy I would love to. I think we almost did set it up. Then the whole Floyd Mayweather thing happened, and they came to Toronto. Got pretty stiffed by the UFC staff at that time, right? And that was enough for me to say, you'll never get my support again. And that was it. That was pretty much it.
Outside of fighting, is there anybody that you wish you could have interviewed?
Wow. Denzel Washington, Will Ferrell, Bob Marley for sure. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, those are yeah, that's pretty. There's another one. There's a guy that's on Instagram and TikTok. He's a Buddhist. He's like a monk. He's a monk, and this guy's philosophies are sick. It's just like whoa. I never looked at it from that angle. I've been studying a lot of his stuff recently, but just Denzel Washington to me, and I love. Listen, being Italian, you have to like De Niro and Pacino.
Yeah.
That's just mandatory. But Denzel Washington to me is one of the greatest actors and performers. Like people always ask me, are you ever starstruck? Never starstruck. Never starstruck. If I was to meet a guy like Denzel Washington, if I was to meet Lionel Messi, I might be starstruck. But if I was to meet those guys, I would. When I met Rickson Gracie, I just looked at him. He smiled. I put my hand. I said, "Thank you for everything." And he's like, "Excuse me?" I said, "Just thank you. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for everything you've ever done for the sport." And he's like, "What?" He was stunned. And then he's like, do you want to have lunch? Do you want to have dinner? And I was, because most people, they freak out. They want to get a selfie. They want to get an autograph. I don't need an autograph. My son freaks out all the time. You met R9? How did you not get a picture with R9? Blah, blah, blah. You met this guy. I don't need pictures or autographs. I need to know that I met the person, said thank you, because obviously actors, they give us memories with their movies and stuff like that. I just like saying thank you to people. I don't need a picture or autograph, man. You do your thing. You got your own world. I got my world where I'm not acting to be best friends. So, but just thank you. That's all I would do.
That's great there. And before we wrap up and let you go, how can our viewers and listeners here at the Game Plan stay up to date with everything you're doing and follow you on social media and follow everything about, Stouffville?
Stouffville. You almost said Showdown Joe.
Yeah.
You're dying to say Showdown Joe. You're not the only one. Everyone's still, no, I still get called Showdown Joe. It's fine. But anything soccer or mortgage related, because like I said, I'm a mortgage broker by trade. Everything's online. So Instagram is Joe Ferraro. You can Google me. You can, I'm on TikTok. I think it's Joe Ferraro. I don't use X as much. Facebook, it's Joe Ferraro. What am I missing? Instagram? No, I said Instagram. Joe Ferraro. Instagram. Right? Yeah, if you just Google Joe Ferraro, you'll see this the shiny bald head, and yeah, follow me. Well, and anything I can do to help you, anything soccer or mortgage related, please reach out.
Highly recommend that follow. And Joe, I really appreciate you sharing your time and coming on here to talk all about this and giving us some more insight into the soccer world in the Stouffville Soccer Club. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you, man. Wishing you and your family the high pitch of the holidays and Merry Christmas.